Welcome back to the Unstoppable Women's League, ladies and gentlemen. Cthulhu, we head into our final match of the regular season. Team Bliss taking on Fury, and this one, it's kind of for all the marbles. If Fury win this, they have that shot to make playoffs. If not, they're done. They're done for the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, this one is going to be the big one, really, for Fury here. Given that, their final matchup is against the top one team that so far had basically a flawless run. So, yeah, them winning here against Bliss for Fury, this would be quite a large feat. Not only this would mark their sort of ability to enter the playoffs bracket and completely dethrone Radical Rebels and throw them out of that top four, but that would also, tarnish the record of Team Bliss rather substantially. So, look, this could be a really big one on the side of Team Bliss. Look, theoretically, you look at the general sort of track record. This should be a relatively standard sort of day in the office, given that the previous matchup of Bliss versus Fury was on Clubhouse, and it was a 7-2 venture in favor of Bliss.
Yeah, I mean, you say tarnish the record. This is the last chance. If Bliss lose here, they lose out on the flawless record they've set so far. They are 13-0 currently. If they pick up the next one, they remain undefeated in the regular season. So Fury, there's a lot of pressure going into this matchup, of course. And look, let's get on to the map vetoes. Actually, let's go to the vetoes first. Sorry, like I said, I'm not feeling the greatest. I'm coming off the sickness, and my brain is rotten. Coming into this though, let's have a look at the rosters and see sort of how they're shaping up at the moment. Cthulhu, KT, the coach and former player, of course, coming in as a last-minute stand-in sub for the team. Aussie Princess, Cass, Sav, and Time for Pie. Look at the numbers across the board. All of them positive, even if Aussie Princess is only by about 6.
Yeah, look a little bit on the more sort of milder side of things, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, the positive KD kind of shows it all, and definitely kind of it tells the story of just each and every member of Team Bliss has been seeing a really, really solid performance. Overall, it has been a really thorough sort of season for them as well, and they ended up, they put in the effort, they put in the practice, they put in the scrims, and well, the result of it all is so far a flawless run, looking to possibly claim the win here at the end of the season as well. But look, absolutely a stunner roster and plenty of opportunities from there on out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see old KT, number one Fremantle fan herself, stepping back into the realms of play. Of course, she has been behind the scenes and on the desk with us for the last, couple of weeks of play.
Mm-hmm.
But coming into this, let's have a look at Fury once again and see their roster coming in to play the second matchup of the evening for the team. Obviously, Fury, Team Bliss had a forfeit in their first match of the day. Triare, unfortunately, having bowed out of the season. Psycho, Amber, Peepo, trying not to cough, L, and Kylix, one of the newcomers to this roster coming in, of course. It was a decisive map on Chalet. The fact that they've opted, let's get into the map vetoes and see where they're going to be playing, because that'll then lean into my next talking point, of course, because I almost leaked it. I'm not going to. We'll get there in the end. But no Oregon. Thankfully, that was taken away from us. Unfortunately, we see some more of the fun maps banned out. In fact, Fury not wanting to have any fun whatsoever. In fact, it's going to be all business. They banned out 3 of the most recent maps added to the pool. Chalet. So KT could have taken us somewhere fun, but not to be. We head to Clubhouse. That has to be of concern, given the previous result.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit odd. Let's call it that. In terms of the picks, but look, it is what it is. I'm still very much curious how will the Clubhouse really work out, because this could possibly lean into the whole storyline of possibly with Fury now showing the most recent win, possibilities for kind of general improvement are certainly there. So look, yeah, Fury could very much, if not the win, at least show the improvement in their scoreline, and departure from a 7-2 sort of very dominant venture against Bliss could be a good way to play it all out, but. Not the best setup. Let's call it that.
Well, let's get on into it, Cthulhu. Let's jump into Clubhouse and get this, last broadcasted match of the regular season underway, of course. Clubhouse, a basic of any competitive map pool, of course. This needs to be in your repertoire. Unfortunately, it has proved to be quite a potent map for Bliss.
Yeah, Bliss managed to basically make it their sort of almost stomping ground in terms of the playthrough. So, absolutely could be a bit of a kind of a coin toss, really. On one hand, we could see an absolute domination from Team Bliss, whereas on the other hand, we could see Fury just keep on, bringing that heat, pushing Bliss to the absolute limit. And like you pointed out before, with KT kind of stepping at the very last moment as well, this could be sort of finding Team Bliss and not their most optimal sort of performances. But I mean, given the previous feats of KT as well herself, wouldn't be as much of a crippling sort of display, I would imagine.
That's your Maverick to go. Understandable. I mean, look, staples of Clubhouse when it comes to that ban phase does mean that, Flora is going to be available and play Hibana, which is, one of the other ones that we see banned out. Finka will be remaining as well. On the defense, though, where do we go? Do we go back to basics? Kaid, or, look, guaranteed a must, given that Maverick and Thatcher are off the board. But where do we go from here? Valkyrie, Mira,
I'm feeling Valkyrie,
Azami.
Yeah, I think Azami will get to stick around a little bit here. Yeah, Valkyrie will be the one to be banned out, given that L had a pretty solid performance on the Valkyrie as well. So, funnily enough, two operators that she did play back on Chalet now have been pretty quickly banned out. But it is, though, rather entertaining the fact that it was Fury that actually banned the Maverick. So, yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate turnout. But for Bliss, I mean, you look at their lineup straight off the bat. Introduction of Pulse for the Church and Arsenal room. I'm very much looking forward to that one, because whether it's the UMP, whether it's the shotgun, Pulse on the vertical, whether it's below or above, could wreak absolute havoc on the attack.
Yeah, most definitely. Interesting, and we're not going to see the post, the martyrdom grenade from L again, unfortunately, on Clubhouse. I think maybe that's why Fury banning it out. They don't want L to rely on the crutch of the posthumous grenade. But looking at it, I mean, Fury on the attack, Amber currently hovering the Kali, surprisingly enough. I would imagine that has to be 6 picked at some point. But the Finka likely going to remain alongside the Thermite and the Sledge. Yeah, there we go. Lion,
okay. Yeah, that is definitely quite a curious pick. No, instead it seems like no liner will be brought on. Instead, the switch is over to the KB, and Buck will be brought out by Fury. So that keeps us with a relatively flexible sort of lineup, but no Zoff means, well, that's one less LMG for Fury to really utilize, and given that players like Psycho definitely wanted to kind of play before from that sort of LMG, at least for her. Well, there's the Finka Pig, but still Fury trying to lean a little bit more into the utility piece, and you can see, well, before on the previous matchup, Psycho would go into the building swinging. This one, a much more cautious sort of approach here from her.
Yeah, obviously the crutch Finka being available will be in play for her. She goes back to it. She was wanting those montage clips. Whether or not she'll find that is a different matter. Given that it's Bliss playing, I think some of these may not be that usable.
Yeah, there could be a few outstanding issues later down the line, but we'll have to wait and see if that actually comes to fruition. As it stands, Breach is already starting to come around. Fury not really looking to waste any time, really, in terms of, well, finding the sort of avenues. Time for Pi actually does a pretty good job at just getting rid of just shooting out the X-Kairos, which is rather funny, but regardless of that, plenty of information is being gathered already, calling out the position at the main staircase.
Yeah, just feeding that info through. One Nitro remaining in the hands of Pi herself. Could be looking for it. The roof above her caves, courtesy of Peepo, who's going for that extension up to the 3rd floor, wanting some safety, some security. Obviously, droning out the pulse early on led to this choice.
Yeah, this is already quite entertaining almost to see, really, with just how much just a simple pig, the sheer presence of the FBI operator just affects the general approach of things, but already getting a little bit closer. Cass, perfect C4, does get rid of Peepo.
She's not had that in hand for the longest time, so that has been pre-placed for a good minute now, and has found the kill onto Peepo. That is truly astonishing. Amber pushing through into blue. The logic bomb will give away the position of Cass deep into blue. Does she know that there's one in dirt tunnel? Goes to the reload. Amber pings coming through. Will get the shots off onto Aussie as well. Triple for her. Make that a quad as she's pushed it deep into Armory. KT lurking from behind. Denies the ace. The 1v3 now for her. Here's the player rotating in through Church. Got to be crisp, but unfortunately is not. L takes out KT.
What initially looked like a very much of a kind of a bliss round, and it kicked things off pretty well with a sheer amount of information. Unfortunately, yeah, the push by Amber really ended up dismantling the whole lineup. And once again, yeah, Amber showing a phenomenal performance, whether it was back on Chalet, now first round here against Bliss. That's off to a good start. Whereas for the rest of Team Fury, look, they managed to, you know, get onto the side, get the timing going, but it was off the back of a single player kind of finding those openings. So curious what would happen the moment sort of Amber gets shut down on a regular, whether it would be the rest of the team to be able to pull up, whether it would be players like Psycho on the LMG to, you know, try to bring that sort of pace over. Would it be more so players like L, players like People, players like Carlos to, you know, step up to the challenge here? For the time being, look, it's been only the first round, so can't really make the full-blown judgment, but certainly quite curious how really things will go for Fury on the side of Bliss. Yeah, look, a little bit of a misplay, and by a little bit, quite a severe misplay by letting the KB kind of push through that freely in through the dirt tunnel. Oh, not dirt tunnel,
Yeah.
when I say blue tunnel.
5 seconds to go.
Either way, the tunnel push was highly effective. Unfortunately, KT denies the chance at an ace, which I think would be her second tonight, because if I remember correctly, we were keeping tabs on the match before we went live in the broadcast. I'm pretty sure she got an ace in round 1 of last map as well.
Yeah. Quite big, quite big. So looking to now continue that sort of hero performance so far. Fury are looking to make a rather prompt breach directly into the dirt tunnel, which would really expand the general reach and general kind of approach for them to push through. It wouldn't really narrow things down, but interestingly now Bliss has changed up their approach as well, with the now presence of Cass around the bar area, with Time for Pie as well close by to the position, but being rather frequently drawn out. So a whole lot of pressure could mean problems as well. UMP is not particularly one of those biggest DPM guns, so you will have to very much be cautious about the approach. But in terms of that, default cams are the ones relaying a whole lot of information, but already the call has been done, so the rotation should have been already called out as well. And yeah, there we go. Perfect turnout.
Time for Pie getting abated a little bit there, I think, by a teammate who was shooting footholds in the wall in that bottom basement hallway. But right now you can see, yeah, KT off on her own, being a bit of a nuisance, looking for that late round pinch. I mean, it was somewhat successful in that last round. Unfortunately, it was only the one kill she could find.
Indeed it was, but attempt to possibly push towards the hatch would have been done, but instead what it did is actually just bait out the dump of the C4, which is rather big flanked by Crips T, as unfortunately for Fury they did not check the strip club either, and now this will be a very focused push. Now a lot of eyes are now on that strip club position, which would mean that, well, once again, it's down to players like Ambi to really make that sort of difference here.
And it's no, you wouldn't expect much else from the most impactful player to come out of the Women's League. KT, Cass, another Nitro play onto Peepo. 2 rounds in a row now. Unfortunately, Peepo has fallen victim to the explosive utility of Team Bliss. And KT, they are no closer to flushing out. And it looks like Fury might even just forsake her and go straight for the site push right now. Amber can't quite get herself in through blue. Knows that there's resistance now. Psycho, all of them up in kitchen. Oh, this could be huge. Amber has no idea. She's heading bottom main. And it's just seconds. KT not going to be able to get the shots off, but she's going to be able to find something at least. Pushing in from behind. L in, and there you go. Amber falls. Aussie finding Psycho as well. L on the plant. Looking for the foot angles. It's going to be finished by KT for a flawless round. And look at that. Bliss answer back with a vengeance.
Yeah, a call possibly made out of desperation for Fury in terms of the time management ended up being kind of the unfortunate demise for them. Perfect flank executed by KT as well. Worked in just the right way. And, well, that's now the downstairs site, for now, at least locked out for Team Bliss to defend. They will be switching over to CCTV and Cash straight away as well, bringing in the Azami for Time for Pi. So a very almost flexible sort of lineup being introduced here by the defense of Team Bliss. On the side of the attack, not a whole lot of changes once again. The sort of the bait of Kali pick for Ambi to come around, albeit I'm very dubious that Kali will actually stick around on this one, but sort of I asked sort of the question as to, well, what happens when you don't really let Fury kind of spread their wings, when you don't really let Amber to find that sort of emphasis on her own pushes, and, well, answers there, really. Team Bliss to be able to score the points, so I suppose that's one of the win conditions that we found here, Panda, it seems.
Yeah, and coming into this round, this is a terrifying lineup. You've got not just the Wehrmeyer and the Jaeger, you've got the Azami as well, and we've seen this played so many times. It just makes that Rafters hold that much scarier to deal with, not to mention the fact that you've got the Mute and the Smoke on top of the SAS duo. The anchor potential is quite significant. KT still has that shield in pocket, trying to figure out where she wants to put it down. It will finally be deployed, and yeah, look, this is all just business as usual.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, that trio lineup is an absolutely deadly one. That could be making things a whole lot more difficult. Now, I said that I was very dubious about the Kali pick, but it seems like finally Amber actually stuck out on the Nighthaven operator. So you can see that the bolt-action sniper rifle will be coming into the play here straight from the warehouse as well, looking to get some long-angle performance. But in doing so, she revealed at least the kind of the bare bones plans here of sort of the Kali play, and straight away we already see the keeper barriers as well starting to come around to try to just basically patch up all of the openings that Kali has managed to generate.
Aussie just lurking around this garage entryway. Spots out the drone, and we'll clear it for the team. 3 already finished off in the first third. Here's another one close by, another drone off the board, and those are so key going in the later stages of this round and attack against Bliss. Fury and need all the info they can get.
So with Psycho looking to make her own entry here, looks to try to cut off at least some sort of rotation, some sort of flanks. Good angle by Amber here. Try to cut off any sort of flank play. Oh, the swing is good from Aussie out of a blue, just gets the absolute beam onto L. There's another one holding that very similar position by the breach. But you're looking at the position of Bliss. Time for Pi even making all of those rotations, keeping Fury on their toes. For Fury, they are still trying to wedge out a number of those positions. No control yet over the rafters means that that sort of main breach into the CCTV is the only thing that they have to contest.
Yeah, I mean, look, Aussie 9 times out of 10 was always going to win that, of course. A veteran of this competition. She finds Peepo as well. You need more guns than that to try and take down, well, the princess, not quite the queen, maybe in a matter of time, because really she is one of the staples of this competition. Amber into the site, into Cash, spotted, trying to contest the players there, encroaching, and will fall, unfortunately. KT getting some stretches going. Aussie finally taken down by Psycho, looking for more. Bottom red in a bit of trouble. Doesn't have the health that she'd want in the situation, especially by the numbers. Kylix on the breach. Toxic canisters coming out. She's going to have to force something. Heads towards top red. Spotted by KT as she pushes in through the site. And the shotgun to close.
So the orchestrating this sort of play almost perfectly there. But bit of an unfortunate turnout for Fury really there, because so many approaches, so many just potential plays that could have happened, but unfortunately just either stalled out or just couldn't really find that sort of the proper, I guess, pressure point, the one that actually would have worked out. Good effort by Amber to actually get into the side, and she was there for a brief moment. Unfortunately just got swarmed by the 2 rotating SAS operators on the defense. So whilst the effort is great from Amber, the rest of the team unfortunately having a bit of a lackluster turnout. So
yeah, I mean,
Going into going into the next season, actually, we could be seeing Ember being picked up for teams like Fury, or not Fury, teams like Bliss in the later stages. Who knows?
Yeah, look, it would make sense. You pick up the players that are capable in the competition to make the super team. But yeah, look, Ember having had the most impact so far for Fury. Yeah, look, you're only 3 rounds in, but given what we were seeing at that last map, unfortunately, that's the team. I don't know whether it's a case of, that first round was great, second round was a bit rough. Now off the back of that, you got to wonder maybe the mental just a little bit short.
That could be it. Could be it. The mental certainly could be a bit chalk there, but one would imagine that if it does in fact get chalked, the attack plus could come around. Psycho this time, a much more confident decision to swing. To get into the building, but decides actually for the better of it to back out to see if maybe she could find some sort of rotation cutoffs. It stands interesting sort of a juggle between Cass and L. As Cass just, very nonchalantly kind of just, oh yeah, I'm just going to put the mute jammer there, but L is also quite a bit of a veteran within the scene. She knows well they work around that. Gets the breach nice and quickly done and dusted. Now it's a little bit of a bit more complicated sort of venture for Cripsty to hold off her position, but in terms of the utility, it all seems to be still relatively kind of stable.
We didn't really touch on the fact that there was a clash in play for Pi. I mean, this is something that we've seen a couple of times over this season and the last season of Women's League. The clash to come into play is a huge denial force, especially on this gym bedroom bomb site. L going to have to go for the reattempt on the con wall as well, it would seem. Just trying to figure out, no, you've only got 2. Unfortunately, Thermite lost his 3rd.
I think she's just more so waiting for the frag grenades to start coming around.
Yeah.
Should be able to get rid of it. Yeah, there's the mute jammer gone, so the breach will be all done and dusted. For time for Pi, this might get a little bit dicey if she ends up getting pushed from both of the positions at the same time, but doesn't look like Fury are looking to opt into that very option. So for now, just slowly, bit by bit, giving away that sort of ground. But even then, time for Pi, funnily enough, has the ground to just go for the run out and just get the beam done. But Fury, they might just be able to just push it into the gym.
Are you suggesting that Clash should go for a run out from Mark's bedroom window?
Go for it. Absolutely, 110%. I support the Clash runouts. Clash runouts matter.
Clash runouts matter. Either way, it's not going to happen. They are going to play it smart. Aussie the first to fall, courtesy of Amber and a F2. Looking for the jump on into con. Window wants to be sure that she can go for it. Unfortunately, drone in the wrong place. Toxic Canister still in play. 2 remaining. That Jacuzzi breach not going to be ideal. And I think with the fact that, yeah, KT identifies that there's a player coming from con, time for Pi in a bit of trouble. Trying to cut off the rotate, backs herself against the wall, gives herself some security. There are no frag grenades to deal with her either. And you're looking at Blisser in a great spot to try and deny this push. Player still outside. Breach running in. It's an absolute frenzy of fragging. And look at that. Cass finds herself in trouble, but it's L in the one. Wait, sorry, no, they had the advantage. I didn't realize. L through the smoke will clear it out. Time for Pi left alone. Unfortunately, cannot clutch up.
Right, unfortunate turn out there, but yeah, look, well done. Fury do manage to equalize the round count once again, as it is definitely now looking like a much more, a much closer venture here between Team Bliss and Fury. But I certainly felt like it's again kind of Amber was the one to open up that sort of opportunity. Once again, shining rather brightly there for Team Fury, but Team Bliss, Church and Arsenal back at it again. Now reintroducing the Pulse and the rest of the crew, which did end up being kind of the round winning round now. But now comes the question: with the last time that Team Bliss did win out here on this very side, it was off the back of Cripsty's flank as well. So how will really Fury approach this sort of push is probably the interesting part for me. Whether they are looking to, spend a little bit more time to clear out the strip club as well, or at least drone it out to try to spot if there's going to be any sort of flank play, or whether it is going to be kind of once again overseen.
Yeah.
10 seconds left.
But you look at there is going to be the extension play, obviously the mute there, indicating that, of course. Remaining. But I mean, Yes, KT had a great round, but the fact that it was flawless, so it was a team effort on the whole from Bliss. It was just a systematic denial of service there for Fury.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Yes, the whole of Team Bliss was able to really, come together. But it did start off the back of that flank to come around. With time for play now gone, that is actually quite an unfortunate turnout for them, and a very fortunate for Fury, as that is the pulse. That is a lot of information now gone completely, now forcing KT to be basically all solo dolo on the plays on the turnouts. So we're looking at possibly a bit of a difficult one, as Amber once again just pops off Crips T, completely denied, and that is the cameras as well hacked.
Hacked, washed, KT, you decide at this point. But I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest here, Cthulhu. The results for this matchup largely irrelevant for Bliss. They are locked in first seed. There is nothing that can knock them out of that position. So maybe, just maybe, keeping things a little bit closer to the chest going into the playoffs. Aussie finds one before falling, going... I mean, we're only just passing the first minute mark here, and Sev and Cass find themselves in a 2 versus 4 clutch situation. Looking for the angle, spots Amber to go down, looking for more. 2 versus 2. Unfortunately, she will fall to Psycho. But Sev on 1 versus 2 is doable, especially with the plant going down. L looking, but... Chips passing in the night. They're not going to spot each other. Knows that the cameras are hacked now, so they know where Sav is coming from. Shots going through in a very dangerous spot right now. Pre-fires galore, almost finding the head. Unfortunately, caught through the rotate. L will take her down, and Fury claim the lead.
Oh, Fury certainly coming in quite prepared into this matchup. We were talking in the pre-show that they're coming off quite a high in terms of their performance back on Chalet, so certainly this does kind of show in terms of how they play, in terms of how they perform, works out rather well. Now for Team Blizz, the best case scenario really for them here is making that 3-3 scoreline, which could be, well, still workable, still ideal, but certainly would be not the most ideal result, really, in at least in their terms. So we'll have to see how their attack will really bode out here, because that's been kind of a reoccurring thing as well for a number of teams, including Fury, who did struggle a little bit back on Chalet's attack. Attack is a little bit of a wonky one, so for Team Bliss, possibilities of a wonky attack side as well could be still on the board, whereas for Fury, defense could be very much of a solid side for them to play out, but we'll see how the things will work out. Looking at the performance so far, it's been a rather rough run for Sav and Time for Pi, so looking into maybe possibly getting them to pop up in a couple of rounds could be very beneficial here for Bliss, because the rest of the team has been pushing it rather well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite easy to put it down to just over-aggression was the downfall of Bliss in that last round. I mean, you had Time for Pi peeking the main stairs window out towards Con. There was just a lot of questionable decisions that they didn't need to be making in that situation. They had the advantage. They had, they were going back to the site that they'd already won flawlessly, but they just pushed the limit and unfortunately got checked for it.
Yep. Checked and vibe checked and all the rest of it. There certainly managed to be a solid turnout there. What is that? Currently looking rather open for Fury to make those entries. They want to make the play really happen here, but can be back on the Kali, looking to do quite some damage, and does see those feet. Unfortunately, can't really nail, and yeah, that will be spooking the prey. Time for Pi just dodging the unfortunate result.
Does not want to find out in the situation what could possibly occur if Amber does line up the shot onto the drone hole there. Amber now picking up that position, covering the breach currently. Kylix on the drones looking for info as the impact trick going to be coming out of X Cairo pellets, unfortunately. Kylix, no reaching charges at all either. So Con is going to be a funnel through that door. Time for Pi. Is going to throw down the Kiva barricade, but Psycho with an aid. Lovely through there onto Sav to take her down. Gives Fury the advantage heading into the final minute.
This could be a very dense sort of turnout here. Bliss, once again, being on a little bit of a back foot. Gas grenade starting to come around. Bliss being very much pressured here. And as it stands there, XPWL very much, well, forced to play a very kind of claustrophobic turnout. Same goes for Time for Pi. Frag grenade is in. Unfortunately, yeah, that might be it for Time for Pi, but no, actually gets to hold onto her position. Cass gets rid of L as well. Peepo wants to look at the push itself, as well as that there's a rotation, I believe, of Cycle will come around through the main breach, as well as Kylix does get the better of Time for Pi. Once again, 3 versus 3, but with 27 seconds to go, this is supposed to be an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, I was wrong. That con wall is, in fact, open up. Psycho still out in the breach. Might find the long end of a shotgun if she's not careful. Aussie gets in a bit of trouble. Kylix being tagged up. Knows that Psycho's there. What a headshot from Aussie to shut her down. Players rotating through. Cass and Aussie take some damage. An aggressive push through towards Rafters cost Peepo her life. And now KT on the hunt for the diffuser planter will take Kylix down as well. A 3-3 half at the conclusion.
Oh. As we mentioned, the 3-3 is definitely kind of a good middle ground here for both teams. Certainly an improvement for Fury, but certainly not the turnout that Bliss probably would have expected either, given that the sort of round 2 and 3 kind of alluded to the fact that they would be able to, get themselves running on some sort of good momentum. But alas, that did not really bode out for well. For now, for Fury, they are very much happy at the current turnout. The attack so far managed to net them kind of a 50% win rate, which at the end of it all sort of kept things nice and snappy, nice and tight. Now with Fury going onto the defense, their first pick is going to be the CCTV and Cash, which, look, it's sort of, you either go for the first pick on the CCTV or you go for the Church and Arsenal room, and it's more so just depending on what kind of gameplay do you want to enforce. And it's certainly, according to all the picks, is the introduction of nearly basically the sort of a mirrored setup with the introduction of the Womai, the Jaeger, the Azami once again for Fury, whereas on the side of Bliss, the double LMG, the double Hard Breacher plus Cass on the Sledge. So a relatively almost meta-line sort of pick.
5 seconds left.
I mean, if you're feeling a bit funky, obviously you can go for the bedroom gym hold, but we are seeing fewer and fewer teams doing that now, of course. No mute coming into play. Interesting, with the Flores available, Bliss could have definitely utilized him in this round, but not to be. Where my Jaeger with the Azami on the rafters set up, KT will identify that there is no breach style whatsoever, so they will be able to get the CCTV wall open, and that's info that they could bring into the coming rounds.
Breach is already starting to come around. No time really wasted, only 30 seconds gone, and already the main breach done and dusted. People might just end up being pressured here from a variety of positions, but I say that not a single person is actually even close by to her position, so for now she gets to sit pretty really on the rafters. But with the Gon 6s now ringing out, a lot of swings come around. Sav looking to try to impose some sort of pressure here on Psycho, but Psycho utilizing those Q barricades should be able to keep herself steady for a pretty prolonged time now as well, with L being on the backup.
Yeah, definitely feeling far less freed in this map, of course, than she did on Chalet. Telling way scoreline, currently 4-4 on the Azami on the defense. Sav looking to rotate in. Time for Pi in a bit of trouble, but it's Aussie that does fall in the end. Psycho holding that position. Time for Pi does go down as well. KT in trouble. And it seems that this might be a bit of a botched push. Psycho finally taken down. The reign of tyranny over. There is an adrenal surge, so they can get Time for Pi out, looking to try and cover. Sav just has to go for it, but no, they're going to commit to the pickup. Wasted there. Time for Pi, if they'd held that a little bit longer, she would have been sitting healthier in the round, but not to be. But there is still 4 plays available for Bliss.
Still frag grenades available as well for Sav. So looking to try to burn out those ADSs before any frag grenades will be dedicated to that, but difficult to really bring in quite a number of those utilities. Crips T now in tandem with Sav will try to clear out the position. Frag grenade is out, but no, baited out by the Womai Magnet as well. With Cripsty though getting the better of
Ooh.
L as well. Another ADS just saved by the pinch people's life, and well, now makes things a whole lot more difficult for Bliss as time to fly now falls, but at least traded out.
That's Raptors control conceded. They can get in by the bomb chassis and look for the plant. But what a shot from Amber. The pre-fire successful. Toxic Canisters looking to cut off that angle across the site. KT still has one exothermic remaining. There's no nitros on the side of the defense. Cass looking for a bit of a cheeky nade through the drone hole. It's eaten by an ADS. Toxic Canisters, none remaining. So there should be a brief window where they can get in and go for that plant. KT's in. Cass covering the cross. Amber falls. It's Kylix remaining alone with no utilities, so the plant will go down. Can't find the vert angle. Elevated in Cash right now. KT testing the waters. Gets out to Rafters as well. Cass out on the K9 balcony right now. Kylix has to make a play. He goes to the reload. Knows something has to give, and unfortunately it's looking like it might be her. Swings on, finds KT, but it costs her so much of her health right now. 23 seconds. Cass might just play this one slow. I don't think Kylix can find a position to long arm this one. Just baiting it out, playing the rotation game. Yeah, every position is exposed currently. Trying to tuck herself into the corner. Goes to the defuse attempt. Shots on, and Cass will be successful.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate result there. As much as Kylix would have wanted to make that sort of play happen, but neither long arming nor trying to tuck herself into the chassis really didn't really work out. So timeout been called in by Fury as they're now starting to realize that their sort of momentum is starting to slip away. I mean, you're looking at the performance so far. Fury doing their best to really perform as much as they can all together. Ambi leading the charge. Whereas on the side of Bliss, it's Cass with the double digits, and then Cripsty, Aussie, and then Sav following up with, unfortunately, yeah, still for Time for Pie. It's been a little bit of a quieter time in terms of performance on the frags, but at least we did see the whole of Team Bliss kind of playing together, at least in terms of the utility. So, not all yet wasted kind of thing.
Yeah, there's possibilities. It's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, obviously Fury's shaken enough that they call in the tech time out there. They're going to be heading to gym bedrooms and not doubling down on the CCTV defense. Obviously not quite as confident in the Vera. For the first time, strangely enough, we are going to see her in play.
It does actually sort of make sense for Amber to be the one to actually pick up the reins of Mira on gym and bedroom as well. It's one of those operators that does provide a little bit more, I guess, call it comfort zone for the defense, especially on those sort of hunkered down setups. So with Amber, the player who has been hitting some absolutely ripper shots, keeping the control of a vector as well, this could be a good sort of turnout. But yeah, this has been a very curious venture. Yeah,
I have some unfortunate news.
Ooh, do tell.
Radical Rebels have won their match, which means that unfortunately the results of this match are now irrelevant. There is no way Fury to crack on into playoffs. It is all just ego that they're playing for now. Bragging rights. Fury, if they win this, they still end that flawless streak that Bliss have had this season. And I mean, that's motivation enough, I think.
Yeah, well, definitely this is going to be just about enough to be motivational, but yeah, look, rather unfortunate for Fury as much as they, you know, did their best to make that sort of work, but yeah, alas, that's the end of their run. At least the hopes for the playoffs now gone. Well, they don't know it yet, so they would be still doing their best to play their hearts out, but would be rather
I'm back.
Heartbreaking sort of turnout. Hello, welcome back, Blue Panda.
I don't know what happens. Every now and then my Discord likes to climb to as high a ping as possible, just to keep me on my toes. But right now, it is definitely Bliss keeping Fury on their toes. You can see already in through CCTV, clearing things out as you would. Looking at aggression towards Con as well. They know that there's at least one there, but Time for Pie with that LMGE could definitely cut off the rotate and upset this Fury hold.
Even all of that upset, really, this could be rather big. Yeah, the X-Car is being completely denied. Pipo nearly jumping the gun for the second impact charge, but instead the breach comes around onto a separate side as right now Pipo's position is about to get pressured even further. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the second impact charge. So in comes all the breaches. Still drained quite a fair bit of time, so that has been a good result for Peebo. Right now, against the whole onslaught of Bliss players, this could be a rather dangerous venture, although she still looks to really play around as much as she can. Holding a very strong position here. Psycho really manages to strong arm Cass out of her life here, even. Bliss a little bit struggling to wedge out this sort of position by the cash.
By finishing Peebo off, gives them an avenue back into this match. Psycho taking big damage, and with Sav still having 3 adrenal surges, they can look to bounce back and take that health advantage going in the later stages of the round. That Sav, though, has to commit to it. Psycho returning towards top main stairs. Off on the rotate, should be quite happy. Sav just holding on to the adrenal surge is a bit questionable at this stage. You've only got limited uses before you have to commit to the site, and they're running out of a window where it'll be back up in time when they do go for that execute.
Absolutely so, Sav. In a very dangerous position. How was that a whiff is beyond me here, as L had the perfect opportunity here, perfect position, completely blinded and shut down. That is one of the most unfortunate results. Kylix is able to fight back, though. That is big, not for long, though, as well. She falls to the hands of Christine. Out Cycle forced out of that position. Could maybe play for the C4 play, but even that is not connecting. The plant is down, and the site completely forfeited as Psycho is just about to get a very hefty amount of lead going her way.
Holding the corner, but time for Pi with the LMG and the adrenal surge means that recoil is all but nil. Just holds down mouse 1, picks up the round, and look, if Psycho was a ballerina, that was a very graceful move. Unfortunately, in Rainbow Six Siege, that doesn't count for much.
Yeah, if only style points were a thing, maybe that would have brought out some sort of competition, but 5-3, just as we were, starting to discuss the fact that, Fury has been improving. Fury did do their due diligence on the attack. Defense so far has been, unfortunately, a bit of a lackluster venture, at least in the past 2 rounds, so maybe looking to possibly bounce back there. But so far, at least in terms of Bliss, they have returned back to their sort of normal stability, I guess. Well, and by normal is just kind of what we got accustomed to, seeing them usually perform. Still, it's been
I mean, 13-0 for a reason. Let's be perfectly honest. And
absolutely so. There's
now,
absolutely all the rights there.
I mean, right now they're 2 rounds away from the flawless season as well, so they're in this position for a reason. It's not luck, it's not a fluke. They've absolutely busted effort. It's just been consistent effort. We talked to KT and heard about what they're going on, what's going on behind the scenes of this team. They're putting in the hard yards, and it's showing.
Absolutely so. The time, the effort, certainly been put in. Psycho back on the Vigil, as she did bring out a couple times back on Chalet. Had varying sort of results, but we'll have to see if she'll be able to be that sort of the deal breaker, as she is about to get quite a fair bit of trouble coming her way the moment that breach on that jacuzzi wall happens. We'll have to be very much mindful of that sort of presence. Time for Pi as well, creeping around with the live drone as well there. Could do just about all the damage needed.
They just know. They have every idea that she's up here. Free Fire's just going to gun down the wall. Unfortunately, having vacated that spot for the most part, she is no longer there to receive. In fact, she's made her way all the way back down to the basement. I mean, a good bit of time waste, but unfortunately, not much more than the minute she got.
A whole lot of things really did happen there in terms of getting some damage in, but look, for Fury, the good thing is that they were able to rather passively kind of drain quite a fair bit of time. I mean, almost half a round, not even almost, actual half a round completely drained out. But so far, Fury might just be able to finally, get back into the swing of things. In a similar way how, funnily enough, the second half of Chalet kind of happened, where they started, occasionally fumbling the bag, but after a couple rounds, managed to bring back the general sort of swing of things for Bliss. we mentioned that, you know, with the fact that KT is coming back to the roster for this very matchup, they could be slightly crippled given that it's not a full 5-core roster, but
Unfortunately,
KT.
it's Fury that finds himself crippled down a player. Kylix presented an opportunity, does get it on the reattempt. Sav taken down with a headshot there, but you look at it already. The approach, as you would expect, the soft breach coming in, Psycho, big headshot into time for Pi, brings it to the advantage. But Bliss currently no Finker in the remaining round, means that they're going to have to play with the health they do currently have available. Aussie there, primed and ready, shut down by Psycho though. KT looking to try and open Church Wall, but with 30 seconds remaining and a 2-player disadvantage, KT is going to need to rip some heads. Unfortunately, the opportunity not presenting itself, looking to readjust the angle as the exothermic doesn't look like it's going to be usable currently with the mute gemmers in play. Utility dump coming through. Psycho looking for the shots, will find a triple for herself. Has no idea that the last player, now does obviously, is in moto. Time is just going to tick away. KT not going to play her live here. Actually, no, will fall to L, who comes in for the rotate.
There we go. Fury, realizing that they don't necessarily have to full-on aggress across the whole map, backing up to the default positions and playing around sort of that blue tunnels, worked out just like a charm, given that Team Bliss decided to push through the very same positions over and over again, granting Psycho that triple rather nicely. So, yeah, look, a bit of a curious or questionable sort of decision-making there by Team Bliss in terms of the way how they pushed, but it's also understandable given that they spent quite a fair bit of time trying to force out all of those aromas, trying to, well, do their due diligence, but
attackers need to locate and defuse
really
bombs.
things did not really happen. T in chat, also a replacement for F in chat maybe, but with Team Bliss still being on a round kind of ahead, we're still in that very good sort of contention between the two rosters.
I think maybe, you know, just maybe having chat bound to T might have been the issue there. But look, because the thing that I'm looking for Cthulhu, obviously coming into this round, we go CCTV Cash. L bringing back the Bandit. Last time it was baited out quite successfully, so I mean, if Bliss have done their homework here, they should be able to deal with this.
5 seconds remaining.
Absolutely so. Bliss have all the utility really needed. Even then, if certain things do go haywire, frag from below should basically do the job, and even then, if not even that, in time for Pi will be able to utilize her breaching charges. But that, I mean, looking at the lineup, it's still looking like a very much of a kind of hunkered down sort of setup, with still the ability to have at least a fraction of a roam to happen really there. So for Fury, they will have to play a very, very careful job there. Kairos coming around to try to get at least an opener kind of started and going. I'm curious how will really Bliss approach, given that before, I mean, it has been a very prompt breach towards the main wall, but as it stands, we yet to see anything really to come out from them.
Yeah, right now, time for Pi, look at a hole below, knowing full well that there is likely to be someone bottom garage. No Izami this round, and well, they've cleared out that position already, and they are going to open CCTV breach quite successfully. In fact, only a minute gone, and they've got nice and wide open, so they can start establishing the crossfire. Sav, or this nade is likely going to be the death of L. No, not quite far enough, just the angle not there.
It doesn't particularly really bode out, but L might just end up back indirectly back into the sights of Sav, but does not do so, which is already a dub as it is. Frag grenade out yet again to try to flush out the Bandit, but even then again, the damage does not connect. L still plays her position pretty well, paces and knows exactly she doesn't have a whole lot of room to really wiggle around. Another frag grenade to possibly fly in, and a three-pointer just enough to push into the sights of Sav.
Time for Pi as well, finding Peeper, the coordination there, working for the team, spots the player, elevated into Cash. Unfortunately, loses a bit of health, but will get Rafters control for the most part, and we'll look to clear that wall out. A lot of pre-fires to come through still. We've got 50 seconds to work with here for Bliss. That's huge. Sav going down to Amber. No more adrenal surges. That's a bit rough, but Amber not in a position to relocate and group with the team. Has to rotate the long way towards main stairs and comes through that bedroom pinch right now. Time for Pi. Has the breach open. Toxic canisters, but you'd already look at it. Ozzy snuck away and looking for that defuse plant. Currently, Kylix a ripper of a headshot taking down Time for Pi, but the plant is successful. And you can look at it. They are just going to play themselves quite comfortably. Amber, what a shot at Kylix. Unfortunately, the sacrifices Amber does go down too. Psycho, got to look for the pickup. Brings it to the 2 versus 2 effectively, but the health of Amber, not ideal. The drone's there as well, feeding that info through. They know where Psycho's pushing from. Cat's in a bit of trouble. Just survives there. And you look at it's just relocations, trying to find better advantages to play from. What a shot from Psycho onto Cass. Where's the cover? Where's the player? KT in the post plant. 10 seconds remaining. Psycho has to get onto it now. She is going to look to stick out the defuse. Can she long arm it right now? And Psycho in trouble. Forced off. Will not be able to defuse. And unfortunately, Psycho out into oblivion.
Psycho panicked there at the end of it all. Unfortunately, yeah, this does grant the match point. The Team Bliss only 1 round away from closing it all out. But yeah, look, for Fury, this has been a much better improvement. We've talked about this kind of at the very beginning, you know, comparative to a rather unfortunate result back in play-in number 4, where it was a 7-2 victory to Bliss. This is now definitely looking like a much, much closer contested matchup. Unfortunately, just, well, for Fury, those sort of, they hit the afterburners a little bit too late in the season, which ended up, unfortunately, well, really costing them the playoff spot. Whereas, well, we get to talk later down the line about the congratulating Radical Rebels to be able to hold on to that 4th position pretty well. Which sort of kind of leaves us with a very interesting kind of lineup of the teams to play out in the playoffs. I believe this will be also, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the first or the second time that Radical Rebels do manage to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a couple of times now for them. And it's genuinely very impressive stuff, the seasons they've brought for themselves. Unfortunately for Fury, like you said, didn't hit the afterburners soon enough. It was too little too late by that stage. Regardless, look, it's a compelling showing that they're having here against Bliss.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just quickly had a look as well at the records. Second time for RDC to qualify into the playoffs, from being back in season 6 on the 7th place now into the 4th. It's definitely a good improvement, so definitely love to see those. But certainly a sad day if you're a Fury fan. Team Bliss, though, this might not overbeat yet, and Fury could very much still cause a bit of an upset, even just as the sort of a consolidation sort of result.
Cass going to pop the Logi hatch, knowing full well that there is that mirror in play. Looking to clear across. They know that there is likely going to be a cash hold as there was last time. Time for Pi just skating some of that damage that could have come through the drone hole. Pops the window as well. They want to be able to cut off Peepo here if they possibly can. Looking to drift on in. Spots the hip! Spots the player. Peepo will fall, but L there to support. A player on the ground and a player out of the equation.
Still yet to find that out, with L as well holding a solid crossfire as well. This will be a rather dangerous venture to try to swing onto the Jaeger. With the position now being basically forfeited. In comes the swing. No, actually clinical here from L as well, getting rid of Sav. And, well, Bliss's approach here, Bliss's, or rather onslaught, could be halted here rather eloquently.
Peepo likely to bleed out here. But, I mean, you look at that, she's already baited out 2 kills successfully. Drone will spot L tucked in the corner of the master bedroom. Bliss may be getting a bit antsy in their push, wanting to close this out and bit off a little more than they could chew. 1:12 to play. A kill the other way could make all the difference currently. If Cass can thread the needle, this could be a completely different round to close.
Absolutely. So Cass could be the big deal breaker, though. And Cripsty had an absolute ripper performance jump down. Yeah, Cripsty slips up there and basically falls rather quickly. Psycho next. Now L is the one holding a crossfire. Yeah, it's all kind of falling apart very quickly here for Bliss, and unfortunately no results really gained from there on out. Maybe a few kind of consolidation frags to be found, but they're definitely looking to go full regulation rounds.
Nade deep towards master bedroom, eaten by the ADS. It's been a massive round from L. Psycho closes it. We are guaranteed full regulation here, Cthulhu. As the score sits currently 6-5. Whether or not, though, we head to overtime is up to Bliss.
This is sort of the advantage for Bliss to lose if they kind of continue playing in a very sort of disconnected playstyle. Whereas on the side of Fury, definitely kind of upping the sort of coordination. Definitely a massive improvement ever since we got to see them last play in the previous play days. So definitely a good sort of match here, and bringing in quite a fair bit of heat against Team Bliss, which feels like definitely a much needed sort of boost to performance. Psycho once again bringing in the Vigil. Last time on this very side, she was able to farm up, basically was gifted that triple on the blue tunnel, and well, might just be able to pull that off yet again. Though for Bliss, they would want to get rid of her as quickly as possible, but sort of the how is probably the question here.
Yeah. Right now, Fury, 1 round to overtime. The possibilities are there as they get themselves set up for this defense. Psycho back on the Vigil, wasted a great amount of time the last time they were on this site, so hopefully she's going to be able to do it again.
Very much so, looking to sort of wreak as much havoc as possible. Looking to make as many plays. Once again, very similar positioning here for Psycho to just be able to back away as quickly as possible. Curious if anything will really change around here, because once again, usually we would see Bliss to make a very quick, very snappy entry. Psycho straight away, the moment she hears the drop down happen, backs away from the position, default fully downstairs, and whether Bliss learned about that sort of play now. Curious if that would really make an impact onto how they really approach this site.
Resistance there for the Fury's expansion, absolutely crumbling at the first sign of pressure. Unfortunately, you would have like maybe a couple of shots at least sent down range, but off the back of that, it's the full retreat back to site. I mean, there's a lot you can do off of that hatch if you're a Vigil. You can rotate in towards strip, you can just hold and bar, but Fury, they just head straight back down, look for the hunker.
Yeah, I mean, they fully acknowledge that, you know, it's a much kind of better venture for them to just go a little bit more kind of safer on the way how they approach the defense, and kind of wait for Bliss to start swinging them, and from there on they could have a really nice set of angles similar to what Kylix currently has. But that sort of is a bit of a dangerous venture. If that sort of punch hole could be spotted, a simple pre-fire could be the end of Kylix's position. But with the way how so far Fury has themselves set up, they have the ability to go for a refrag, and that is kind of the main sort of bit of toolkit right now in the hands of Fury.
Yeah, Nitro, the one currently in the hands of Kylix. Still holding that position, the punch hole, and well, that was far longer than should have been allowed for either of them to be looking at each other, but it is Sav who comes out on top. Both of them sort of just realizing, hold on, is that a person? Yeah, it is. Oh, Cass finds Ella as well. And things are looking to slip out of control here quite significantly for Bliss. KT fighting Peepo. It's now just the two remaining, one in dirt, one close, right of time for Pi. Psycho just timing a swing, does get the kill, spots the follow-up player down towards Oil Pit. Amber relocating, costs her life, unfortunately. Psycho looks to get Sav, picked up by the Adrenal Surge, forced into the 3 versus 1. As it does at least keep the rest of Bliss nice and healthy. She's tagged up as she crosses. And Cthulhu, this may be all done and dusted. Bliss just denying at the very tail end of the season, despite a monumental effort from the girls on Fury. Unfortunately, it feels like this may just be all over.
Yeah, this is all looking like a rather dire situation for Psycho. Unfortunately, Kaz decides to do a bit of trolling here as Ozzy gets fragged out by her own teammate. On the 2v1, this is a little bit more doable, I suppose. Psycho being given a bit of a window of opportunity, let's call it that, but possibly just deciding to stick around and try to go for a bait. But A lot of vertical here that could be rather problematic to deal with. Not a whole lot of HP to really play around with. An attempt to bait out. The flashbangs are there, and Cass is the one to wrap it all up. It is a GG and a flawless group stage here for Team Bliss.
Look, letting it go the distance, if nothing else. Unfortunately, Fury, even with a win here, it wasn't going to do much for them, given that Radical Rebels already won their matchup, played in this final round of play. But, I mean, look, Bliss, it's just that icing on the cake, a little bit of strawberry on top, denying the chance of a defeat. And, I mean, look, big numbers. KT in her first match back at how long goes 14-6.
Yeah, look, we were talking about, possibly her being a little bit on the back burner in terms of the fact that, yeah, it's been a while since she's been part of the core roster, but no, she performs rather well by the end of it all. A few hiccups here and there from Team Bliss, but Fury did manage to punish Team Bliss on those hiccups rather thoroughly, so definitely big props to Fury. But yeah, look, unfortunately for Fury, despite all their efforts, despite all their hopes and dreams, well, unfortunately for them, they could not really qualify for that top 4 for the playoffs. And, well, for the playoffs, we do have our 4 teams, and, well, Bliss are very much leading at the very top with a flawless run.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an impressive season. I mean, the round differential takes a bit of a hit off of that last match, but, I mean, look, you're you're still first. Like, at that point, who cares?
Yeah, very much so. Look, I mean, even after that, it would still be approximately 25 plus rounds, which is still already quite a gargantuan effort that has been played out and has been sort of sorted out by Blizz. But yeah, look, Clubhouse definitely ended up being a whole lot closer than we expected here, Panda, and certainly Fury still managed to pull off quite a solid game.
Yeah, look, like you said, again, it was just sort of that sentiment that's been echoed throughout the entire stage. Unfortunately, it's very much a case of cool, but too little, too late. Unfortunately, they needed to start that run a little bit earlier, and as a result, it allowed Radical Rebels just to sneak in ahead of them. And, I mean, it wasn't the most significant of margins, and we will have a look at that when we do head to obviously our standings in just a moment as well. But we'll have a look at them and see how the round robin played out. Of course, it was a very interesting stage. We got to see some results that we expected, some that we didn't necessarily expect, but on the whole, look, it was some very entertaining siege.
Absolutely, it has been an absolute banger of a season. We got to see some really interesting scorelines to happen, some big upsets as well. I mean, for namely Inferno being able to pull off a couple of really big wins that actually boded quite rather well. So, look, I mean, in terms of that, definitely was an enjoyable so far stage. But we still got playoffs as well to go, and I think this is where we might just see, teams like Viking Army, teams like Big Brain Esports, teams like Radical Rebels to start, get closer and closer to that top 1 position, starting closer and closer to contest teams like Team Bliss.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is every possibility that going into the best 3 format, there is potential for that upset, of course. So, I mean, Bliss, just because they have a flawless run in the round robin doesn't necessarily mean that they are a guaranteed grand finalist, of course. I mean, you only have to think back to the OCS. Hungry Lions take down not just, Bliss, they take down Wildcard, the 2 grand finalists from last OCS. So there's possibilities. And as we have a look at the leaderboard and how it all plays out by the end of the round robin, of course, Bliss, untouched, a plus 74 with 42 points in first, dropping down 6 points behind Viking Army. 14 matches played, 12 of them won, 36 points. Big Brain in third and Radical Rebel in fourth. And look at it, yeah, unfortunately, just too wide of a margin for Fury to overcome.
Yeah, look, a little bit too difficult, too bumpy of a road. Fury had all their chances, but look, yeah, at the end of it all, unfortunately, just things didn't really work out. But look, hopefully in the coming next season, they will be able to return back to their form, return back to their grace, I suppose. For the time being, though, yeah, look, the top 4, massive congratulations for the huge effort. Viking Army as well, a team that has been, we've been talking about, yeah, they have the potential in the prior seasons. Yeah, they have the ability, but they were kind of still calling them kind of the diamond in the rough. Finally, that diamond is starting to get polished pretty thoroughly, and, well, second place is the reward for it all, at least going into the playoffs. So very much well played, result there for VA. So can be said for Big Brain Esports, and well, Radical Rebels being able to hold on to their position certainly does deserve a commendation as well.
Yeah, I mean it's that opportunity, of course. I'm questioning the Big Brain Esports round differential just a little bit. That's wildly impressive. And I'm sure that they would be happy to take that. But having a round differential, which is 300 higher than Team Bliss, yeah, okay, 34. There we go. That makes a little bit more sense. Actually,
Well,
no. Sorry, I'm getting a message. Big Brain would like you to put it back, please.
Yeah, look, it's well played so far. Been just even in general, even if it is just the 34, not 340 around differential. Yeah, look, I gotta say, definitely been impressed. There's definitely that sort of the skill gap as well is starting to shrink rather nicely as well, at least in terms of the sort of the top 5, top 6 teams, and kind of from there on out. Yeah, look, the sky's the limit, absolutely, and I'd say going into the next season, could definitely be seeing that sort of first place being very much thoroughly contested by a number of teams.
Yeah, look, let's have a look at the match results from our final evening of the round robin. Of course, play day week 7 rather than play day 7, but match 1 on broadcast, a 7-3 victory Fury over Radical Rebels. At least they took the heads-to-head tonight. I mean, if nothing else, they take that away. But Big Brain and Viking Army both picked themselves up wins in the first round as well, 7-1 and 7-3 respectively. But unfortunately, Bliss put an end to the hopes and dreams of Fury. Well, Radical Rebels, I suppose, did help. And look at that. Second and third place, Viking Army versus Big Brain Esports, a 7-5 as well.
Yeah, very much now curious. Now, going into the playoffs, obviously that will be a BO3 venture. How will that sort of, I suppose, the game of endurance as well will come into the play, given that even in a BO1 format, this came down to the, maximum set of regular rounds without the OT. So definitely a few questions to be asked here. Whether how close will the actual BO3 happen between VA and BBE? Whereas Team Bliss, Fury were able to contest them, and there was certainly a little bit of a missy sort of turnout. How will Team Bliss be able to perform in the playoffs now is a whole different kind of worms really to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, best 3 format is a slightly different one, but I mean, look, again, I think the shoe-in favourite would have to be, of course, Bliss. Let's be perfectly honest. They would be the favourites to go and win it out, of course. Technically back-to-back, I suppose. Although, can you really call it back-to-back if KT is no longer playing? It doesn't really count, of course, especially after the performance she had tonight, being a Frio fan and all. But look, Cthulhu, round robin done. Up next, the playoffs. Make sure you stay tuned to our socials. We will be announcing all of that, of course, play days and whatnot here in the Unstoppable Women's League. But look, on the whole, it was a very entertaining season, don't you reckon, Cthulhu?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been an absolutely stunner of a season. Definitely was a very, a few very unexpected matches, but they were pleasantly unexpected. And absolutely looking forward to the playoffs.
Super excited for it. Like I said, make sure you stay tuned to the socials. We'll be announcing all of that. But for us right now, regular season done. We'll see you back for the playoffs. Have a good one.